Rick Steiner. Welcome to Lux Life Discovered. My guest today is Cortni Bird. So, Cortni, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
We are in for a real treat today because Cortni is very diverse and she's got a great story to share with us. So, Cortni, just start from the beginning. Tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll go from there. How's that?
Okay, so that's fair that you said let's start from the beginning because that's where I tend to ask people. So I've been in the Panhandle for over 13 years. When I first got here, I was involved in the staffing industry. I met Paul literally just out and about, and it kind of evolved. I'd been involved in the music business prior to moving to Florida, but I kind of gave it up because big girl career, all that stuff. Through time when I got here, met people, ended up back in the industry due to a builder that I was staffing for, ended up at CMA Fest, have a friend out of Monroe, Louisiana who knew a producer, and it just kind of evolved over time. And during that time, I ended up doing Backstage with Cortni, which is a show on 38 TV. Who remembers? We used to go to the Songwriters Festival and Gulf Coast Jam, and I'd interview a lot of people. Thankfully, I had a friend that was in the music business, Kenny, and he knew a lot of the artists, so he was really good about getting me set up to do interviews with them. Kristian Bush was one of his really good, well, he was his tour manager forever. So we really had some great opportunities with that. It's kind of weird. Not too long ago, I was in South Florida at an Airbnb, and I walked in and I thought it was a joke because I was on the TV and I was like, they did this on purpose. Like they put this up here. It wasn't on purpose. It was Roku. So I contacted Paul and I was like, hey, did you know this was happening? So fast forward, I did go on tour in the music business through Europe for, I was a country artist over there for the British Country Music Association, did a lot of work in Nashville. I've toured throughout the U.S. I hate saying that's awful. So then basically I started my own staffing firm. And I had a lot of real life things happen, and I had to make decisions about what was best and most responsible for me. And not that I wasn't doing good in the music industry and entertainment industry, but what I knew and what I specialized in was what was lucrative. So I had to take a turn and go towards what I knew. And that's where Seahawk Staffing and Consulting was born. There was a hurricane that hit in Panama City, and all my old clients were there for the restoration industry. And so it was really cool because I got to really kick my business off and be a part of that.
Staffing, what areas do you staff? Like what areas do you cover?
As far logistically or in the professions?
In the profession, like.
Yeah. So I love industrial. I love manufacturing. I like to work with colleges with their their trade programs, HVAC, welders, and kind of be a guide through that. I speak at a couple of colleges, have great relationships with the people who are either over that department or help with that department. So I used to kind of be all over the board, but now I try to specialize more in where I don't want it to just be a winning situation for myself. Like it needs to be a win-win, not only for me, but for my clients as well. And then also the people that put in the work to build and train and develop these potential candidates or these future employees, because they have these wonderful programs now where they're getting real-time experience, whether it's with a business that allows them to come in and do the commercial work, or with homes that are clients to the college that allow them to come in and get real-time work. So I'm always trying to explore and find kind of those niche things that not only help me, but help the education and educators, and also help the client as well.
So these are individuals that can go out, have the hands-on experience, take what they're learning in the classroom, and then actually implement it in the real-life situation.
Yes, and there's two sides to that. So you have your clients that you staff for, and you have your what you call direct placement, which is where you're not doing the payroll, you're not doing the work comp or any of that. You just directly hire for the client. And then you have temp to perm, whereas obviously they work so many hours under my company before they become a permanent employee of the client. So, and there's win-wins to that because companies spend a lot of money investing in their employees, whether it's training, background checks, drug screens, those kind of things. So when you outsource to a company like mine, you're kind of saving on those costs. And in the event that that employee doesn't work out for your company, well, now you're not getting hit for the unemployment. So it keeps your suitor rate down, and that's the goal.
Yeah, and that's a huge asset for companies because, like you said, without you don't have to worry about the unemployment part, so that saves a lot of paperwork, expense, all of that.
Yeah.
So okay, but let's go back to music before we leave that real quick. So what part about Nashville did you like? What part were you surprised about?
Well, Nashville was always a great experience. I mean, I got to work with a producer who's worked with Dolly and Olivia Newton-John. I had musicians on my album that have won Grammys and still tour till this day, or they've played at the Grand Ole Opry, or they played for a show in Vegas. And, you know, I think what was probably my favorite part of all that was getting to work with such dynamic people and just to see the talent and how everything came together. And Mark was really awesome to work with as a producer because he knew how to navigate from new artists to legendary artists. And I got to work with his wife a lot on the songwriting part, Donna, who's no longer with us. But and then the thing that surprised me the most was from the time I started going to Nashville until I got into like my 20s, the growth, like how much the city had blown up, what Broadway was becoming. I can remember when Broadway was this beautiful, almost like a gym, you know, you could
Very quaint.
And you could see all of these great legendary studios on the Strip, and now they're all moving out away from that, whether they're in Mount Juliet or Brentwood or somewhere around there. So the evolution of Nashville, I miss the charm. I miss the old Nashville.
Oh, and it's growing by like so many hundred a day. It's unreal.
Yeah.
Right now, even what the growth is, and you know, whether go in at rush hour, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 11 in the morning. Traffic is a nightmare.
Unbelievable.
I don't think they prepared for their infrastructure for the growth that they experienced so quickly.
A lot of cities, towns, counties, they're not proactive enough in their infrastructure for when growth happens. So you see that a lot, unfortunately. And maybe over time it gets better. There's no doubt they got to have some of the best engineers up there and planning and zoning and all those good things. But yeah, I probably missed that the most was just like the old Nashville.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
Did you ever know a lady named Suzanne Skinner? She was known as Mama Sue. She does a lot with the country music industry there, and so I've dealt with her quite a bit, and she has a good inroad to a lot of different things, different artists, different. I mean,
I don't know you, Mama Sue, but you can call me.
So, is music something you want to go back into or pick up? Now, you also were a songwriter as well. So that has to be interesting too.
Music is very vulnerable. When you're singing or you're telling people, why are you taking my water? When you're singing or you're writing or you're putting your emotions out there, it's very raw, it's very vulnerable. There were parts of the way that the business was evolving at the time when I was in it. There was kind of like this cusp of social media between like Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and all these things. And it almost no longer became about the talent or who you were or what you could offer. It was more about what you were willing to put yourself out there to do. You know, partner with this brand and have a code and they sell all this and you make money back. And it got away from the music. And because of where I stood professionally, you know, wanting to continue to have a staffing company, you know, wanting to evolve eventually into consulting, you know, I didn't feel comfortable putting myself out there in that way. I didn't want it to be ever something negative that I couldn't come back from professionally.
You don't want to water yourself down and have just where it's really meaningless instead of having the most meaningful parts of what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and I love music, and I'll probably go record another song one day just for fun or just for myself. But my goal was never to be famous. My goal was never to be like the it girl or have all the attention on social media. Like, that was never my goal. My goal was to write songs that I, wanted to listen to and relate to, and then also for others, because I feel like music and songs and poetry and reading and everything, it's interpreted by the consumer. So you could read a passage of something today and it mean one thing, and you read a passage of it, the same exact passage, in a little bit more time, and you realize that it means something completely different.
Relative where you are.
Absolutely, yeah. So that was my goal.
Well, good, good. And then there's another aspect to it. It's like with you, it's like peeling layers on an onion because you realize there's so
Yeah.
much there, but the aerial part.
Yeah.
So tell me about that because I honestly did not realize that until today. And I was,
Okay.
scrolling through everything. I'm like, wait a minute, how did I miss this? So
So I'm an aerialist. I've been one for like 6 years. I got really, really lucky. Vicki Smith is my business partner and all of that. I was taken from a studio that I advanced past what they were able to offer very, very quickly. Had a dog bite / injury, had to take a little bit of time back. And I had a really good friend of mine from back home that I did gymnastics with as a child that was like, hey, you should come to this gym. You should meet this lady. And I'm like, okay, so I did, and I went and met Vicki, and then just, I don't know how to not get involved in everything. And she's been everything to me. She's the best coach. She's the best mentor. She pushes me when I don't think I'm able to push myself anymore. She believes in me. She's given a lot to the community on our side of the Panhandle. There's been a lot of people who have taken advantage of the opportunities that she gave them, whether they started their own businesses and didn't do it right professionally, building and growing those relationships to, they try to come and take it away from you. And it's like, no, we're a community. We should work together. It's so funny because the industry brings out the narcissists in everybody. Like, you think there's drama on reality TV? Like, you ain't seen nothing till you've been in the aerial community. And I try my best. Like, there's a great aerial studio in Santa Rosa Beach. Yes, the lady who owns it, absolutely phenomenal. She puts so much into her training and so much passion into her business. Every year they put on a huge cirque show in Panama City Beach. And yeah, she's really amazing. One of the girls that I've grown with throughout my aerial career is now an instructor and performs with them over there. So there are places in the Panhandle where you can experience the art.
well, it's really intriguing too because I know we in Vegas one year for an event we had an aerialist that came and their production was just you know your mouth is just open the whole time
I,
because it's fun
I
to
could
see
have
what all they.
I could have brought
Well,
something.
we should.
I could have hung from the ceiling for
That's
you.
true. And then I know once in Arkansas with a group out of Little Rock where they do the aerial performances, and then for one event we had the girl. She did the aerial part, but
Mhm.
also would pour the champagne.
So
She
we
would be a
do,
performance.
yeah, we do that as well. That's usually done on what's called a lollipop. And I have a lollipop, and there's different things you can put on top of the lollipop, and it's good for parties or indoor parties, champagne pours. And then we have our big rig, which is, something we might set up at an art festival, or we might, do something. We do a lot with Pensacola Little Theater, and we actually get to do these really cool rigging things within, and we become immersive. Like, we're part of the show. It's very fun. So there's a lot of options. Vicky's actually a construction engineer, so that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we all go through training for rigging and things like that. But yeah, that was just something that I'd done gymnastics my whole life. Somebody got me into it, and here we are.
Yeah. Well, you needed something else to do, right? So where do you see yourself? What's ahead? I mean, you've done a lot already, accomplished a lot. What would you like to do now?
I want to live life and enjoy it a little bit. My significant other and I, my husband B, we travel a lot, but I am in the process of building an aerial studio, and I want it to be more of a place where people who love to teach and love to share can come and, spread their art, spread their talent, not necessarily this structured crazy studio, but something more where it feels like home for you to train and train others. And then my staffing company, the consulting part, is going very niche market. I don't know why, but I've always been into like niche market recruiting, niche market marketing. So, being able to do a little bit more consulting versus traditional staffing, whether that's recruiting consulting, marketing consulting, coming in, diagnosing your business, seeing where, the gaps are. I have an IT department. A lot of businesses outsource their websites, and this is backwards from me believing in outsourcing, but they put it on their business's host, and you own your host, you own your domain, but they're putting it out on a separate host. And I believe that you should own your website. You should have it on your own host. So I have an IT department for that, and then public relations as well. So I'd really like to help businesses be better, whether it's from an employee or standpoint, processes, marketing, just really get out there and share the knowledge I've gained over the years.
So you have the savvy part, like you said, and helping the business itself. But how would a person that wants to be part of your staffing, because I know you have certain requirements, certain, a process that you follow, how would they know to like, do they even, like, how do people know that there are people like you that exist?
Well, there's marketing, but then there's also the relationships you build with, the colleges or career source, or, our problem in the Panhandle, and this is just me trying to be a market specialist, if you will, and an analysis. A lot of the time we don't have the people that we need in this area to work. So you notice that there's this huge deficit in talent, and people need these, they're always like, I'm hiring, I can't find this, I can't find that. And two things I would say is, one, open up to, if it's not a degree or, certificate position, be willing to train your employees. Like, I think now is a better time than ever to promote within, or take somebody on and under your wing and train them completely in a new position. And then also, being able to know how to like, recruiting is marketing, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. And you got to be willing to go above and beyond the norm to make it happen.
So are businesses and employers, how do they accept that about bringing somebody on in training? Because a lot of people just want somebody to come in and start. But I think what you're saying is probably a better way, because that way they know what you expect. They're not bringing something else, preconceived ideas.
They have to be willing to listen. You have, as an employer, as a business owner, you have to be humble enough to be like, you know what, I don't know everything. I would not be where I am today without, friends, mentors, business coaches. And it's sad because over the evolution of time, like, those people get older, people you've looked up to, they, retire, sell, or, I've lost a few. That's was hard. Grief is hard when you've had guidance from someone for so long. It's almost like you lose a limb. It's like, oh my gosh, who do I call now? Especially if there's someone who is in your industry. But I think you have to, as a business owner, you're very isolated. You work 24/7. You're always obsessing over it. And I think you have to be humble enough to take a step back and be like, you know what? There's specialists that can help me with this. And maybe I don't have the right answer at this time. And just being open-minded to listen to people. Because I'll tell you right now, I don't know everything, and I learn every day, but I'm passionate, and I will do everything in my power to make it happen. Like, that's just me.
Well, if somebody's passionate about what they do, that is more impressive to me than anything else, because if they're that passionate, they're willing to learn.
Yeah.
They're going to do what they can to make it the best experience.
Now, I do have to give a shout out to Greg Britton that owns Navarre Family Water Sports. I've done their PR and marketing for a long time, and his son actually works for me. But, Greg has been someone who's helped me guide throughout my career. I still do the public relations and marketing for Navarre Family Water Sports. Just being able to have the people that guide you along. So you have to remember, like, when you're in those positions where you're a business owner, you're trying to come up with conclusions, you have to remember, like, you're not alone, and there may be somebody who knows more about something else than you do. And you have to be humble enough to accept that and want to hear it.
What is probably, want to hear, that's the other one. You're right. Be able to listen. Yeah. So what is one experience that you've had with staffing or working with a potential client that sticks out in your mind in a positive way? Like, how have you helped turn something around?
I failed.
Well, tell us about that.
I failed epically.
Okay.
I mean, that's just it. Like, you fall and you have to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, you have this candidate like ready to go to work. You have everything. You are planning for an entire hurricane response, and you have like 15 people who are, you know, I'm going to be at work tomorrow. And then it happens and they're not there, and you can't stop. Like, you got to show up for the client. You got to keep going. And my failures of when, you know, potential employees that, because sometimes I think I believe in them more than they believe in themselves. And
sometimes that's probably been true because
no, it is
they
true.
have to believe it.
I have two of them we can call right now that tell me now, 5 years later, I was like, oh, Miss Courtney, I should have listened to you.
That's right. Yeah.
But, you know, and I'm like, what did I tell you? But the thing about it is, you know, it's not that it's one particular incident. It's over time. It's all the times that I failed, because I can't stand that. Like, I obsess over it. I'm like, oh my God, like, I failed my client. I failed myself. Like, some days I'm a hero and it's good, 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 good. And some days I'm like, man, I'm crashing and burning.
Yeah.
So,
but you're hard on yourself too, though.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very hard
Yeah.
on myself.
Well, and that also pushes us to be our best, and we're not happy with status quo.
No, status quo's never mattered to me. Material items have never mattered to me. You know, there might have been a time when I worried about like what my clothes looked like, what kind of jewelry I had on, what kind of car I drove, and all that. And at this point in my life and where I've evolved, it's just like, you know, those things don't matter. What matters are memories and, you know, the relationships you build with people and the impression they make on you and what they leave with you. Those are the important things in life. And sometimes I feel like you're your own worst enemy because you live in your own head, or you think you're supposed to be perceived this certain way because it's going to make you the status quo. And really and truly, like, those things don't matter.
And
They don't go with you.
When you strive to achieve that, you realize those people really that you're looking up to haven't achieved it either. They just play a big game.
Some people are extremely dysfunctional.
Yeah.
I mean, some people really fake it till they make it. And you know, their debt to income ratio. I mean, I'll tell you right now, the scariest I've ever been is when I had debt, you know?
Oh, yeah. That controls you.
Yeah, it makes you
does.
drive and thrive. I mean, I had a mortgage. I couldn't just keep going out and playing the music artist. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
and the ones that do keep going, it catches up with them too. So,
yes, it does. Yes, it does. But
well, so songwriting, are you still doing that?
my music's out there. I mean, if people want to listen to it, great. But I don't push it on anybody. Cortni Bird.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but are you writing like?
I write every day.
I was gonna say.
I have a whole, like, I get inspired and I have a recorder on my phone. I write poetry constantly, you know. I'm inspired all the time and I write things all the time. And, you know, Tim allows me that space to be understanding and allow those things, as to where in the past it's kind of like, what are you doing? You know, so just being able to have that creative freedom. But what's most beautiful about it now is it's for me. You know, I don't care about what other people think about it. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Sometimes when we finally realize it's okay to do something for yourself.
Hey, I was jamming out to my own music on Saturday. Okay, there's an old album, Courtney P. She was more punk rock. And I have a song, High on a Sunday. And I was just in a mood and I was jamming out to my own music. And I went downstairs and I turned it on the TV and I'm like, Tim, do you know who this is? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, can you read? But yeah, I mean.
What do you think about it?
He's cool about everything.
That's good.
Yeah, he's just whatever I want to do. He's like, go for it. I don't care. You know,
And that's good to
I
have
got
support.
you. Yeah,
And
I've never had that before. I always wanted someone I could have as a partner, business partner, friend, everything. And we have our own business ventures together, Smithowitz Enterprises, and we've flipped some land and, you know, constantly looking at other investments to do. And, you know, whether we want to have it for ourselves or turn it into something else. And we just built.
So when you say you flip some land, what do you mean by that?
We come in, clear it out, try to figure out what you want. Is it a barn dominium that you're wanting to build? Is it more of like you just want to have an RV pad that you can come crash at, or maybe potentially rent out? Just remember residential rules with counties. No, but you know, and we've kind of went through that whole process ourselves, and you know, we want to do it more. And whether we share those properties by rental or we flip and sell them or whatever, we have a really good time doing it together.
And that takes a lot of good ideas and being on the same page.
Yeah, I'm calm. He's neurotic, and that's weird
That's
because
a good
I'm usually
balance.
neurotic, and like I'm usually the crazy one, but I'm the one that's just kind of like he's talking. I'm making a list, and then it's like, all right, so we make it happen.
Y'all found something that you both excel at, and
Chaos.
it's kind of funny.
We're good at chaos.
But it's funny that it flipped and y'all
Yeah.
the opposite roles now. So
But we
that's
also have a really awesome full-time employee, Jacob. I met him through the aerial world, and Tim's also good with my aerial stuff. He don't miss a show. It
that's
took 3
good.
years
Yeah.
before he missed a show, and he'll be there to build it, break it down. But Jacob, our friend, he works for us full time, and he makes a lot of stuff happen. He's so talented. Like there's nothing this man can't do. So we also have our teams within our different businesses, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's always have those good, solid people you can trust and depend on. So we're going to put your information on the screen, and so if people want to talk to you about, well, just tell them.
If you want to train aerial, give me a call. If you want us to come perform at your parties or you were putting on some kind of show, call us. If you're looking at starting to have investment property, give us a call. If you want to better your business, give me a call. If you want to grow your workforce, remember your workforce is a pipeline also. Your employees and your future pipeline is just important as the sales and business that you bring in.
And then your phone number,
It's there.
850-226-0320.
Yep.
So be sure to give Cortni a call for either or all three of the opportunities there. So,
Not yet.
so
There may or may not be a podcast to come.
you're thinking about doing your own podcast?
I am.
Okay, good.
But very specific. Like it would service my clients for the consulting side and highlight businesses with unique stories.
I think you should definitely.
It's not going to be just businesses with you. Like it's kind of scientific behind it, but yeah.
Yeah. So we'll look forward to that podcast in the future. We'll
Rick's
keep you
going to be my
posted.
first guest. No.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
Thanks,
being with
Rick.
us today. Great to meet you. And
Yes.
it's been, this has been very important. I can't wait to see what all you've already done so much, but good gracious.
I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
I'm a wannabe. I haven't done anything, really.
A lot ahead of you.
Thanks.
So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time on Lux Life Discovery.